Hey everybody, it's Joric. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for checking it out. As you know, I like to talk about moving to and living in Portugal as well as Europe travel news. If you're new, welcome, check it out. Hopefully you'll subscribe and share my content. Today I want to talk about something that's come up recently in 2022. A number of people are looking at moving and whether they're buying property or renting, and because there isn't necessarily a formal inspection that happens anywhere in Portugal, they wanted to get some tips. So I've been giving people on some of my scouting trip consulting calls tips, and I want to share them with the audience. So I'm going to first start with if you're buying a home, like a freestanding single family home with some property, and then I'm going to spend most of the time looking at apartment buildings and apartments, because I think most of you are going to be settling into apartment life as opposed to home life. But let's get started here. If you're buying a single family home, or let's say you have a farm with some land and you're looking at that, there's just a few things I think you need to make sure that you're doing. Get it surveyed. Have a third party do that. If you feel comfortable doing it, measure it yourself. Measure out the property, the land as well as the structures, so you know exactly what you're getting into. I made a video several months ago about property, the square meters being way off on most properties that I visited. So we want to make sure that you're getting exactly what you're paying for. Also, if you're buying farm property or a home, check for any exterior water lines. Make sure that they're working. Probably want to run them a little while, check the water. And then lastly with those, the drainage issues. So if you have water lines outside of the house or on a farm property, where's the water going to? Turn it on for a few minutes and just see. That way you can maybe get some ideas of, from a farm perspective or your home, where's the water going? Could that cause mold or issues or problems with your neighbors if you happen to leave the water on, if you're doing work around the house, or if you're using a farm property? You want to make sure that you're being kind to neighbors and you know exactly, again, what you're getting into. Whether you have a home or you have an apartment, this is the best tip I can give you, is you're going to have your phone with you. I'm using it to make this video right now. You're going to take your charging cord with you and a plug, and I would plug your phone into every outlet you can. The vast majority of places that you're going to look at will have the electricity or they'll have the energy service on. Check every plug in the place to make sure that it works. So in case it doesn't, it's something that you're going to want to bring up when it comes time to do the rental agreement or purchasing of a property. So that to me is kind of the easiest tip I can give you, and I think you may know that, but if not, hopefully something that you'll use. If you're looking at an apartment within a building, you still need to think about the building as a whole. And you may want to just make sure that you're mindful in inspecting the entry door. Most likely it's going to have a security function on it. Make sure that that's working. Checking the lighting, inspecting the elevator or elevators if your building has that. Are they working? If not, if you have two elevators, we've been in many places where one of them has worked, one of them has not worked for over a year. So we want to make sure you know what you're getting into. The roof is a tricky one because I am not recommending that anyone get on the roof anywhere. That's not something that I would recommend. I've done it, but I'm a little nuts. But I would ask that the realtor or a third party inspect the roof, because for this reason, let's say you're in the top floor of a building and something's wrong with the roof and it's leaking. It may take a while for the maintenance crew to fix it, meaning for the management of that apartment building to get on it and get after it. You might end up paying for that leak and then trying to get reimbursed from the building afterwards. So knowing what the roof is, especially if you're on the top floor, is very important if there's any issues. And inspecting the stairwell, the windows, looking around for things like mold. Is it well maintained? If there's a skylight in the stairwell, does it look like there's any leaks there? Those are all things that, again, don't impact your particular apartment, but do impact the building as a whole, and it is something you need to be aware of. The other thing that in you're looking for rentals or purchasing property, energy ratings are huge, and getting an understanding from the realtor and the seller, windows, and I'm talking doors, French doors, things leading out to terraces and balconies, your front door, every appliance that you have, so a washer, the dishwasher, the refrigerator, the stove or oven, the microwave, the hot water tank, any other appliances that may come with the property, checking out and finding out what kind of energy rating do they have, especially the hot water tank, because sometimes that's something that not many people think of, but if you have a very low energy rating on that, your bill's just going to go up because it's going to take a lot longer and going to cost more to heat water. So along those lines, let's kind of get right into the kitchen area. Check the plumbing. Open up underneath the sink and take a look at the plumbing. Is there any mold? What kind of plumbing? Is it plastic? Is it copper? Is it PVC? What type of plumbing are they using? Do you have any weird smells? In the kitchen in general, I'd look for mold everywhere. In the dishwasher, if you have one, the washing machine, it could be anywhere in the apartment. But if, let's say it's in the kitchen like ours, many of them are front loaders. So you're going to want to check and see if there's mold in that front liner, because oftentimes water can sit and become moldy. The refrigerator, opening the refrigerator as well as the freezer and looking at the liner right by the door to see if there's any mold that's been built up within the fridge. Checking the sink too, if there's any opportunity, if you see any mold or anything growing around the sink, that's not a good sign. Also, turn everything on, and I could say that about every room, wherever you're going, whatever you're looking to rent or buy, turn on all the switches to see what all works and what all does not work. So that's the kitchen area. Bathroom, very similar, checking the plumbing. Open the drawer underneath the sink if there is one. Inspect the plumbing. Is it secured properly? Are there any leaks? Checking for mold as well, especially in bathrooms. It's easy at all times of year to get mold. We have a dehumidifier in the bathroom specifically for that reason, to be able to cut down on mold issues. Toilet, flush the toilet. Also with the toilet, does it have a flange or a lever to push it, or is it something that you press into the wall to flush? You might want to take the toilet top off, or take the front of the piece if you have to push into the wall to get the toilet to flush, to look and see what the mechanisms are. Things in working order? Is it going to work for one flush, but then you move in and then it stops working? Is there any leaking around the base of the toilet seat? That's something to kind of be aware of. And looking at the grout area, if let's say it's a tile floor or a wood floor, do you see any staining from water damage or potential leaks? Something to be sure of. And then lastly, make sure you turn the shower on. Make sure that it works, both cold water and hot water. Sometimes you forget that, and you may not think to do it. And when you move in, you're going, okay, what's going on? There might be an issue with the hot water tank. And one way you can find that out is to turn the shower on. The bedroom or bedrooms, any other rooms, I'll say, that you might have, spare bedrooms and whatnot. Check the floors for cracks and stains, because those are things you're going to want to note, especially if it's a rental contract. You want to think about maybe negotiate the price if you're purchasing. Walls as well. It's mostly plaster here, so there's a high chance that your walls are going to have cracks in them or will develop cracks, so it's something to be aware of. As well as, are there any stainings or patchwork on the walls? Something you're going to want to pay attention to. And again, try all the outlets. Use your phone, you have that cord with the charger, and check everything out just to see what's working and what isn't. Living room area or any other living space, I'll say, is, again, check all the outlets, check the lights. That goes for all the rooms as well. If you have a heating and cooling unit, may want to check it out. I'm going to get to that in another slide. And then walls and floors, again, checking for cracks, stains, anything that might come up that you might get dinged on come renewal time for rent, or if you're looking to leave, getting your deposit back. And if you're buying a property, those are things that you can negotiate the price on, I believe, when you're looking to buy something. And then lastly, I want to touch on heating and cooling units. Not everyone will have them, but those of you that do have the little mini splits, they're called. One in the spare bedroom here is right above my head. Is if you have them in any property, turn them on. Turn the heat on, turn the cool on. Make sure that they're working. And then also I would ask the realtor to find out, is there a proper irrigation line for each of these? And where I'm going with that is one of two things are going to happen. If there's a proper irrigation line, there'll be a line from there leading outside someplace to drip the condensation that's going to come out. If not, it's going to drip from the unit. So you have to be aware of that. Maybe put a towel down or know what furniture you're placing where, because that's going to be a reality if you have these units. One of those two things are going to happen. So that's it. That's my kind of inspection list that I've been giving tips on. Some of these may be review to you. I hope some of them are new and that you will include them as you're looking around at rental properties or properties to buy. As always, thank you so much for watching and enjoy your travels.